Welcome here to the Sovereign Woman's Collective. It is November 21st. We are almost upon Thanksgiving, and I want to welcome you if you're here now or if you're watching this at a later date. I want to speak today I want to go back to the basics, kind of the things that are so important to know before we go into the psychology of emotions and how to practically sit with your emotions and not dismiss them, but be safe and know that you're safe to feel your feelings. I want to go back to why it's important to be aware of your thoughts that are creating your emotions, that are creating your reality. And it all starts with the basics, the foundational basics of our universe, which is, and Nikola Tesla, he understood this like over 100 years ago when he said that in order to understand how our universe functions, we must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because if we don't understand that our thoughts have a vibration, they carry a frequency literally, and that when we are not aware of what our thoughts are creating emotionally inside of this universe right here, I'm sure you've all heard the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. And we're going to talk about that. But first, I invite you always, as you're stepping into this space, if it's safe for you to just close your eyes and take a few deep cleansing breaths, just slowing down your nervous system, allowing yourself to be intentional about your breath and to bring awareness to the fact that when you do take deep breaths with intention, that you can literally imagine your whole inner universe taking in new intentional energy of peace and abundance and compassion for self and then others. And with each breath, you get to inhale into all of your cells and your whole being with intention, those energetic frequencies of those higher vibrating thoughts and emotions with intention. And as you release and exhale with intention, you can literally concentrate with intention on releasing what no longer serves you. And that starts with your thoughts, your emotions, and the physical enmeshment that we have with believing our thoughts and emotions to be true. When we start believing, our brains are so wired to fix things and solve problems. And so it's always hyper vigilant. I would consider our brain to be kind of linked to the ego that we have come to believe that we are, instead of the soul that is here, consciousness, which is our soul, here to experience being human. So when we're living unconsciously, we are literally not aware that the conditioned unconscious beliefs that we were taught to believe about being human, that we must suffer, or that anxiety and depression and resentment and anger and fear and trying to control and manipulate outcomes literally keeps us stuck being unconscious of the reality that if we are experiencing suffering and any of the contraction and anger and resentment, all of those things, if we're experiencing those in our reality and we don't like it because it creates cognitive dissonance and discord in our system, we're not aligned with all that is, then we're actually living in an unconscious way, believing the conditioned belief we came to understand by watching our adults in our lives, our caregivers, our mentors, everyone around us back in the day didn't have the resources and tools to understand the laws of the universe, which foundationally are that we are all energy. Everything is energetic and has a frequency. If energy carries a frequency and a vibration. So what we're going to speak to today is all of this. I tried to think of what exactly I would call this gathering of us as you're sitting here, just hopefully still breathing with intention and noticing your body start to relax, start to settle down. Your nervous system now, every time you take deep breaths, you're initiating your vagus nerve. And your vagal nerve is the largest nerve that runs through our bodies that will respond to intentional breathing and movement and vibration and how we, and meaning our voice. If we are releasing what no longer serves us, we're literally bringing our vagal tone back into the parasympathetic system, which is rest and digest. So as you breathe with intention, notice what's happening in your body. You notice that you're becoming more relaxed. Your nervous system is settling. The dust and the noise is literally settling down. And think of it like a pool of water, our nervous system. And when we are thinking in our heads, the vibration of the frequency of anger, fear, and anxiety, they vibrate at a frequency that is heavy and dense. And so there's a lot of movement in that. And it literally, our bodies are 70% water. Pay attention, like a pool of water that is stirred up is murky. It's not clear. So our awareness cannot be clear when we are stuck in loops of fear and anxiety. It becomes impossible to take that muddy water and make decisions and choices about our lives when it's done from murk, the noise. When we can literally sit with intention and let some of the noise and the dust, the murk, settle by breathing with intention, that pool of water that lives in all of us starts to settle and become more clear. Stirred up waters are murky. Clear water, pure waters run like still. They're still. And so think of that when you're thinking of your inner realm is very watery. Our emotions are the water as an elemental force, and they move through us. It's energy and motion is emotion, and it comes and it wants to move and clear away trauma. Trauma is feelings unfelt. So as we are able to, with intention, settle the murky waters that are here within, think of what a gift that can be to ourselves, from ourselves, to have more clarity in our lives, to be able to understand that inner voice that's always speaking to us. How can we ever believe that it exists if we're never willing to be a little more slow and intentional with our thoughts first? So some of the titles I was thinking about are the universe within, how our frequency actually shapes our reality. And I kind of spoke to that just now. The inner world that creates the outer world, the physics of becoming, why our thoughts are our first creations. If we want to create a new reality, we absolutely have the agency to choose what our thoughts are in order to create the emotions around that. And our emotions are what send out, they're the most powerful vibrational force that goes out and creates our reality. And we're going to talk about that. So, the macro to the micro. So the sacred structure of reality is really that the macro reality is our outer universe. All of the big world out there, the planets, the stars, life itself, even our relationships and our experiences are all the visible layers that we are interacting with, and that is the realm of form or matter. So frequency comes before form, matter. Do you understand that? That's so key to understanding that if our reality is a certain way, the matter or the form of our reality, our experiences, our relationships, how we perceive life to be, through our lens and our perception is always based on the frequency of our thoughts and our emotions that are creating our form or reality, the matter of our reality. So then we kind of drop down from out there into our inner universe, which is our human reality. So our body, our emotions, our nervous system, our breath, the things I was just talking about. This is the realm of sensation and feelings. It literally is the bridge between the energy that we are here, the bridge to our matter or our physical form, the matter that we're interacting with. It starts with the realm of sensation and feeling. So we go below that, and the subtle universe of thought and emotion is our beliefs, what we were taught to believe to be true, our thought patterns about all that we were taught, our stories that we're telling ourselves, our narrative. We are each a walking world of words. Whatever our narrative is what our reality will be. So what we believe to be true becomes our thought patterns, and our thought patterns create our emotions that create the vibration that sends out to create our reality. So going back to the realm of vibration, it's invisible but powerful. What we are thinking actually organizes how we feel, and how we feel organizes how we act and respond to matter. So this is really so important to understand, because what is your narrative? What is your world of words that you're living in? Literally, the stories that you're telling yourself. Have you ever slowed down to let the mud and the murk settle so you can think and observe with clarity? What is my inner dialogue? What am I telling myself about myself? What am I telling myself about the world? If I came to believe when I was younger that somehow I didn't matter, or my needs don't matter, or I'm not lovable, or I'm different, or life is hard, or I'm not safe. Can you see how these beliefs that we come to believe before we know better when we're so young, based on how our parents treated us, how they interacted with us, and as we become more adult and understand, oh my goodness, my parents had their own trauma. They didn't know how to sit with their own emotions, let alone their children's. So there's no blame when all of us as humans, came to believe something about ourselves based on our interactions with our caregivers and our teachers and our mentors and our friends. If something negative happened in our growing up years, which, hello, if we're human, we all have those experiences, and they're meant to be that way, because as souls, we came here to experience every human emotion. And if we were to remember that we were souls that are here to experience human reality, we wouldn't experience what loneliness and fear and anger and resentment felt like, because we'd remember that we were whole and not disconnected from source and consciousness. We are those things, but we're here experiencing what it's like to forget our wholeness. When we start to understand the subtle nuances of that foundational truth, life changes. We stop fighting against life and start to be in the flow, remembering that we literally get to choose our thoughts and question our beliefs about what we were conditioned to believe about ourselves. So if I, for example, came to believe as a child that my needs don't matter, and we all have an iteration of that. And I came to believe that when, I don't know, maybe I was like 3, 5, there are multiple experiences that I had that kept showing me that that was true, right? People would dismiss me in my big family growing up. I'm one of 7. And there were times when I just felt unseen, which is so normal for any child, right? Especially when there's lots of children to spread out the attention of very busy parents. So there's no blame in that. It actually ended up being my perfect curriculum for how to finally understand that my needs do matter and that my parents were really busy. And it meant nothing. I didn't need to make that mean if they couldn't show up for me every time, that somehow I'm broken or not capable or that I'm different or I'm not lovable. No. So now as an adult, I get to turn towards the version of me that never came to believe that error in thinking, that lie, and question it. Maybe for the first time, maybe some of you are watching this, and this is a new concept for you that, oh, I can actually, if time is relative, which it is, everything is happening right now. The version of each of us that ever came to believe that we didn't matter or some version of that, we get to go with that version of us right now. We can talk about this happening long ago in our childhood, but when are we talking about it? When are we going to go and turn towards that version of us? We can only ever do it right now. Let that land for a bit. I want you to think about this, that literally we get to turn towards the versions of ourselves that on a different dimension of now in time, we came to believe an error in thinking. And until we turn towards that version and say, is it true that my needs don't matter? And I'm still believing that and letting that pattern of thought and emotion create my reality? When will I finally turn and have compassion for that version of me that came to believe that? Have a conversation with her. They talk about that in the realm of meditation is becoming the guest house. What that means is that our emotions, it's becoming the guest house for our emotions. So when our emotions, which are an extension of us, it's energy and motion, and it's coming to teach us deeper layers of self. Why am I angry? Why am I always resentful? Why am I always trying to control situations so I can feel better about the outcome? Can I control situations and people and experiences, or is that just an illusion, part of the dream? When we wake up to the reality that we are the ones creating our reality by the vibration of our thoughts, our beliefs, which create an emotion. So if I'm still believing that I don't matter, my needs don't matter, how is that making me feel? Less than. I'm living in lack. My ego is hyper vigilant, trying to show me and protect me from ever feeling that. So now I spend a lot of energy in trying to dismiss those feelings, ignore them, numb out, distract myself, anything I can do to feel comfortable and not face the fact that I still somewhere subconsciously believe that I don't matter. My needs don't matter. Can you see how we leak energy unwittingly towards old ways to believe and think? So when we bring our attention to it, suddenly I have the awareness that, wait, is that even true? Was it ever true? Or did I just come to believe that as a little girl because I didn't know another way to believe or think? No one was there saying, honey, that's not true. It never was true. Why are you still believing that? why is your reality still mirroring the exact vibration of your thoughts? So that's literally what's happening. We're going to talk about that. So the realm, the subtle universe of thought and emotion is the realm of vibration, right? How we're thinking and feeling sends out a signal, and that is vibrational. So the quantum universe, the smallest particles, the foundation of our reality is pure energy and pure potential. So this is where the realm of where consciousness is starting to interact with matter. It's at the subatomic particles, those quantum particles. It's here that our intention influences the outcome, right? So it's no longer that we're trying to manipulate situations in order to control things so we feel comfortable. It's with the intention of, oh, I know the power that I wield through my thoughts and emotions to create my reality. And now I get to choose a new way, different than believing that I don't matter or that my needs don't matter. And now, when I'm more aware of it with intention, I'm like, oh, there's so much compassion now for the girl who ever came to believe that error in thinking, that lie. If our soul and our consciousness is our true nature, consciousness is abundance and love and compassion and peace and ease and simplicity. If that is our true nature, then pay attention. If we're suffering in any way at all, resisting, contracting, shutting down, numbing out, distracting in any way, notice we are believing still somewhere a false thought about ourselves. And if so, this is when intention influences the outcome, and our vibration literally creates the form, the matter of our reality. So the big thing, so to break this all down and to kind of give some structure to this, the big things in our lives are shaped by the small things inside of us. The outer world is always mirroring our inner world. I've said this before. If there is a war going on in here, and when I say war, it's the things I'm just was speaking to. The war would be living in here if we were still not aware that we came to believe something about ourselves that was never true. And that war will continue to create patterns of thought and relationships and experiences that are being mirrored back to us. So if in our reality is always showing us what we believe to be true. So if my reality is showing me that my needs don't matter, if I'm in a relationship or something like that, and having these experiences where I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep being shown that my needs don't matter, pay attention, because somewhere you must believe that to be true. So life in its benevolence, you're our ally, it's mirroring back what we believe to be true. So when it hits us and we're triggered, don't run, don't numb out, don't distract, be still, be curious, stay curious. If I am being triggered by what they are saying or what is happening here, or what I just read or what I just heard in the news or wherever, if I'm triggered into a trauma response, which is based in fear, then I get to be curious. I still must believe a lie because I'm suffering. If there's any suffering, it is showing you where you are still not free. And that is beautiful news, is now you get to stay curious and change the pattern and change your thoughts and change your emotions and change your reality ultimately. Our inner world mirrors our energetic world. So if our outer world is mirroring our inner world is mirroring our energy, and our energy mirrors the quantum world, the tiniest building blocks of reality. So in a nutshell, everything we experience on the outside begins on the inside. And I want to take this to another level, that when we have disease in our physical bodies, guess where it started? That's dense. By the time it reaches our physical bodies, that is dense energy becoming matter. But it didn't start, yes, it did start dense. It started with dense thoughts and dense energy in motion, which is emotion. And because we are believing a lie, it starts to manifest over many years, months and years of repeated belief that something's wrong with me. I'm someone who is sick. I'm not well. I need help. I'm going to take a pill instead of sit with this and let this move through me. I'm going to numb out and do something other than be aware of what life is trying to show me. Does that make sense? So if everything inside begins at the level beneath thought, that is the level of pure energy. So let me just look here. So here is a type of guide, a practical guide when people ask all the time, How do I become aware of my thoughts so I can actually choose what they are and how to move forward and change my reality? So, the good news is if we are that powerful of a creator being to create that much suffering from believing an untruth or a lie that started way long ago, pay attention to how much suffering, how much leaking energy is going out to projecting out our pain instead of sitting with it and allowing it to inform us into a higher way to be. So when I shift my inner vibration, I shift my entire field energetically. And when I shift my entire field energetically, life literally rearranges itself to meet me at the vibration of my field. So each one of us has fingerprints that are unlike anyone else's, right? They're unique to us. The same thing goes for our energetic signature. Each one of us is walking around vibrating literally at the energy of our thoughts and our beliefs. And everyone has a different vibration. What is your signal, your vibrational, energetic signal that's literally always being sent out? Your field, it's like your aura. You have an energetic aura field that you're living in. Pay attention when you go out in relationship to other people. When you go out, notice when you're talking to someone, what is their vibrational field? Can you feel it? Are you aware of it? Are they shut down? Are they over efforting? Are they performing? Do you feel that? When someone's just authentically showing up and they're more present in the present moment rather than living in anxiety or fear or shut down, you can feel that if you pay attention. And now bring that attention to your inner world. And what does it feel like in there? Is it stirred up? Is it murky? Because whatever is going on in here is literally vibrationally sending out a signal. And because the foundation of all that is, of consciousness and quantum physics, is that that signal that we're sending out will always, can only ever align with like energy. So if our thoughts are, if I'm stuck looping in the thought that I don't matter and my needs don't matter, can you imagine what my signal is going out? There's a little bit of a war going on in here. If I'm not aware of it, it's sending out a signal that's going to bring back all of the experiences that are going to show me in a very loving way, or not so loving if we think of it that way. That's a feeling of lack. But life is our greatest ally. It's so graciously, so compassionately showing us, is it true that you were meant to suffer? How does that feel in your body when you still believe that you should suffer? When you're living in lack, when you're living in your ego, still believing that you should be doing something different or you should be somewhere else in your life. Can you see how that signal goes out and it brings back all the experiences to show you what you're actually believing? So if your reality feels sticky, if you feel like you are suffering, good, pay attention. That is a beautiful awareness to have. And back to this idea that if we are that powerful to create our suffering by believing a lie, it means that we are that equally that powerful to create our joy, our dreams, all that we desire is not living in upstream thoughts of trying to control or trying to repress or trying to run from or distract ourselves from our emotions. The downstream thoughts would be more like a surrendered way to be. And I want to talk about that. Let me see here. Okay, so while quantum physics can get very technical, the key takeaway here is that our awareness and intention literally matter. If so, quantum particles will respond to differently to how the person observing them. So they discovered through these experiments that if someone was observing them, they would see the quantum particles acting in a certain way. But then when someone else came and observed them, they would respond differently and be something different. So they started to realize, oh my goodness, quantum particles will respond and react in matter, as matter, depending on the energy that they are interacting with. It's energy and frequency once again. So what this means, if we are carrying thought forms and emotions of fear, we're aligned with lower vibrational energetic patterns. If we are carrying thoughts that vibrate at awareness, surrender, love, we align with higher vibrational patterns. So I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying this because it's so important to understand, because then when you have that knowledge, you can literally create the reality that you desire with intention. So our thoughts create our emotions, create our reality. Thought is energy in motion. And when we think, we create patterns and we charge them literally, energetically with emotion. And then we send it out into the field. And the emotion is attached to the thought, is what gives it vibrational strength. If the emotion is sharp, meaning based in fear or shame or guilt, the vibration is dense, right? It comes in. We've talked about shame vibrating at 20 hertz, which is just above death. Death is 0 hertz. Then there's shame. Then up from there on the scale of vibrational resonance of emotions is like guilt, fear, anger, resentment, remorse, manipulation, control, trying to control outcomes. Those are all very dense emotions, and we don't like to feel those because they come in and they're heavy, right? So becoming the guest house of our emotions means allowing them to come in, like taking the padlock off the door, opening the guest house door, and allowing our emotions to just be there. It doesn't mean we need to stand right in front of them. It means we can have them right next to us here on the side and have tea with them, is what I think Ram Dass says. Have tea with your emotions. Let them sit there with you. And now you're in relationship with them instead of them becoming overwhelming to you where you feel you need to run or distract yourself from feeling them. So those dense emotions of fear, shame, and guilt are actually sending out a vibration to bring back like energy. If the emotion is more open, in trust, surrender, and love, the vibration is light. It's lighter. It starts to vibrate at a refined frequency. And as we can hold and vibrate that higher vibration, we begin to attract the experiences and the circumstances that match that vibration. This is the law of attraction in energetic form. People will call it the law of manifestation. But really, what it means is that when we bring attention and awareness to what our thoughts are and what emotions those thoughts create, we literally get to shape our reality. When we are living unconsciously below awareness, we are accepting the frequency that was given to us, that we've literally inherited, and it's conditioned fear and trauma and over efforting and trying to control outcomes. And when we participate in that reality, these lower vibrations, then we are suffering. When we wake up to conscious self-awareness, being able to self-reflect and be like, what must I believe that keeps creating suffering in my reality? That's consciousness. That's self-awareness. Now we begin to choose our thoughts and we begin to measure our emotions and we tune our vibration deliberately with intention. So I know you've all heard about surrender and surrender instead of submission. I've talked about this a lot. There is a difference between submission and surrender. Submission is still wanting to control things, but not being able to. So you clench and you contract. And it's kind of scary because you don't know what's going to happen, but you're still trying to control it in some way. You're like, I'm just going to hunker down and I'm going to grit my teeth and get through this. Can you see how that is not really sustainable and it's not in the flow of life? Surrender is more a portal. It's a portal to higher vibration. And when we surrender, what we're really surrendering is the ego's need to control, resist, protect, and we're releasing the narrative and our attachment to the outcome. And this literally loosens up that dense energy that is getting stuck in us. In the space of surrender, we are literally allowing our self energetic, our inner field of energy to rise in vibration to align with our truest nature, which is timeless and spacious, and it's connected to source at all times. We're never disconnected. So when we connect here in our inner realm, we are literally connecting to source. They're not separate. So think about that. When we start to tap into our true nature, our consciousness that is connected to all that is always, we are timeless. We're not bound by time. And when we start to heal all the versions of us now, we're healing everything at the same time, even our ancestors. That's what ancestral healing is talking about. So, I do want to mention that this act of surrender is not passive defeat. It's not laying down and being like, I give up. It is actually a powerful tuning of our internal frequency so we can finally resonate at the higher reality rather than being stuck in the old one, and why this actually matters for your path. When you understand these dynamics, it gives you your agency. You are now a sovereign being. This is called the Sovereign Woman's Collective. I also do the Sovereign Men's Collective once a month, but this space here I do twice a month, and I do it for free. I don't know how many people are actually watching these videos, but I do it because I'm so passionate about it. Working with myself, working with my clients, in order to give them their liberation, their sovereignty to choose what they want their life to be. When you start to remember that you are the creator of your reality by your thoughts and emotions, you are a sovereign being. Because what that means is that you are not at the mercy of external circumstances anymore. You are a co-creator of your own energetic experience and reality. So it invites you to become someone who is embodied, like you're in your body, allowing your emotions to guide you. When you're feeling tight and contracted, guess what? That's when you start to say, oh, what was I thinking before I started to feel these emotions in my body? And that takes presence. You can't do that when you're numbing out or you're distracting yourself. If you honor the energy of your emotions and your thoughts, you step into self leadership. So, this connects to healing trauma, the wounded, conditioned parts of us that are carrying those old vibrations will continue to loop through patterns and we will suffer. But when we bring awareness, we begin to shift the frequency of those wounds from fear to love, from contraction to expansion. How does that feel in your body when you think about being able to be sovereign and not at the mercy of any exterior experience? If something is happening out here that we don't like, we know that we're safe to trust ourselves, to feel it, to allow it become the guest house. Come in, fear. Come in, loneliness. What are you here to teach me? That's self-awareness right there. We're not running in fear. We get to actually retrain our minds to stop believing the old lies, and we guide ourselves into a right relationship with ourselves. And when we are in right relationship, not that there's a wrong way, we can never get it wrong, right? Because time is relative. There isn't someone ahead or behind. We're not above or below someone like, oh, they've done so much work, they're ahead of me. No, time doesn't exist. So we're all here doing the best we can with what we were given. But when we're in relationship with awareness of what our thoughts are that are creating the emotions that create our reality, then we're on a sovereign path. We're not at the mercy of our unconditioned beliefs. So, to end here, I want to speak to 3 powerful anchors that you can use to daily practice the things we've been talking about. So, the first anchor is to check in, to like pause. I call it the sacred pause, and feel your current emotional tone. Ask, what vibration am I broadcasting right now? Like when you can pause, if someone says something or something's happening that evokes initial response of fear or feelings of lack, if you're feeling resistance or contraction, or I need to control this so I can feel better, ask, what vibration am I broadcasting right now? And then, noticing what you feel, choose a thought which will lead to an emotion that is slightly higher vibration. So you're moving from fear to trust. You're moving from resistance to surrender, and hold it there for a minute or a minute and a half. If you can do that simple thing, pause, reflect, ask, what vibration am I sending out right now? Because if I'm not aware of it, it's bringing back everything that will align with my fear, my contraction, my lack of trust. Can you see how that works? Okay. That may work for some of you. And then I'm going to give you 2 other options. Anchor 2 is to actually use a mantra. So it means being aware that you're having a thought that feels icky in here because it leads to an emotion that matches the thought, right? I am the observer. This is the mantra. I am the observer of my thoughts. I am the vibration behind my thoughts. I choose the frequency of my reality. And you say this before you step into something that is emotionally charged. If you know you're going into a difficult conversation with someone at work or in any relationship, and even with yourself, if you feel yourself contracting around the idea of showing yourself compassion when you're having these thoughts that you aren't enough, bring compassion to it. I am the observer of my thoughts. Wow, I notice that I'm thinking right now that I suck, or that I'm not good at this, or I can't do this. Can you see how that inner dialogue creates the vibration? And now you get to choose, is that the frequency that I want to stay in? Because that's creating my reality. That's the mantra. That's anchor number 2. Using a mantra. I'm with awareness choosing to step into the frequency of trust here. I'm going to go into this conversation trusting that I'm a big enough being to be aware that I get to choose my frequency, even if there's conflict. Because I know that other people have their own trauma and we're always projecting it out. I'm not going to internalize that. I'm not going to project it back out to them. I'm going to stand in my power and know that I get to choose my frequency by my thoughts and my emotions. Anchor number 3 is to create a frequency upgrade ritual. And what that can look like, there's so many ways, and you get to choose what that's going to look like. But just a suggestion here is when you catch yourself in conditioned fear thought loops, once again, the sacred pause, stop and breathe. Breathe your intention into your breath, like breathe with intention. And visualize your vibration, your frequency literally rising like a gentle wave, right? It's coming up, up, up. Your frequency is rising. And then take one aligned action that reflects that new vibration. And when I say that, an example of that could be that instead of a no, like your ego being like, no, no, I'm not doing that, or I'm not going to listen to that, or I'm not going to allow them, like being really walled up. Can you give a softer, yes, I can be here with this. I can speak my truth with so much compassion and love right here, right now, with myself and with anyone else I'm in relationship with. Or imagine, visualize there being an open hand instead of a clenched fist. This is when we are reacting out of fear in the ego's belief that we have something to protect instead of showing up in love and compassion and being able to be informed about how do I actually want to respond, and it will be given to you in that moment. Trust that. That's part of feeling safe, to trust yourself in knowing how to respond instead of reacting, because you're giving yourself some space, a sacred pause with which to reflect. This is how I would rather feel. If I can tune into how I would like to feel, that's your power right there. Whenever I'm off of how I would like to feel, if I'm back into fear and stuff, what was I thinking before I came off of my center? When we're at center, we are aligned with all that is, and we are naturally in the flow of downstream thinking. And those downstream thoughts that are really soft and aligned with all that is, trusting that everything is working behind the scenes, even if we can't see it. Everything we desire, everything we dream of, all of the simplicity and the ease and the abundance of life literally lives in our downstream thoughts. It's already there at a frequency that we aren't aligned with yet. So when we start to align our inner frequency of thoughts and emotions into the field, it sends out a signal that aligns us with everything that exists on the frequency that we desire. So the frequency of love and acceptance and compassion. Now we're giving attention. Where our attention goes, our energy flows, literally. And where our energy flows, it becomes matter, it becomes form. So the reality that we really desire is there. It exists. It's just on the frequency that we haven't aligned with yet. So trust yourself to align with the frequency of your desires. And then you'll start to see everything start to align to the frequency of your desire, which is love and abundance and simplicity and ease. So this may seem really, really simplistic, but it is. That's what I'm here to remind you. I hold up a mirror for you or anyone that I work with to say, do you see that when you turn in, when you're willing to turn in and tune in and trust yourself to feel all the human emotions without running from the ones that feel heavy and dense, guess what you start to create? A frequency of surrender and trust that brings back everything that aligns with surrender and trust. And it changes your reality. Literally, it starts to move reality to attract what you are a signal match, a frequency match to. So I hope that the things I spoke to today resonate with you as truth. That the levels and layers of healing that we bring to ourselves by being more present and more aware of our thoughts is literally just deeper levels of liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from believing the lie, the error in thinking that keeps us stuck in a lower frequency, creating a reality that is showing us how much suffering those thoughts and beliefs that are old, that are not true, that were never true, but that's what we're here to do. This is the work, is remembering our wholeness, and the frequency of our wholeness exists right now. How can I align my frequency to the frequency of my wholest self, which is love and abundance and all the things that bring so much peace and such a new way to be in relationship with myself, and then it flows out into everything else. So if you have questions, please reach out to me. I am at the Buffalo Queen on Instagram. My website is buffaloqueen.com. If you want to set up any consultations, to ask questions, or to go deeper into healing containers with me. My training has been both clinical and spiritual. And when I say spiritual, I literally mean the intersection of science, which is quantum physics, and transpersonal spirituality, things that we can't see with our naked eye, things that we can't hear or touch or feel with our physical senses, but with our sixth sense, bringing awareness to the energy that we're living in, we're creating. So if that is where you geek out too, then reach out to me. I would love to work with you. The souls that are starting to wake up to the unconscious thought patterns and the realities that are creating a lot of suffering for us. When we start to wake up to that, we become liberated. So if you want deeper levels of liberation, I would love to work with you. Thank you for being here. And I wish you very happy holidays this Thanksgiving season. And I look forward to sitting with you again at a later date. Namaste and ciao.